you for joining us today for the Class Agent Portal rollout. This is Maggie Bramley, and I'm joined by Christine Riendo, Director of Reunion Giving and Class-Based Fundraising, Sam McGill, Director of Advancement Services and Technology, and Ginny Van Dusen, Director of Alumni Career Services. We shared the new portal with class chairs, correspondents, and agents at the Volunteer Summit a few weeks ago and are thrilled to show it with you today. Thank you for having lunch with us. Before we get started, I want to point out the text box on the right-hand side of your screen. If you have any questions, please type them in that box and we will answer them at the end of the presentation. So before we start talking about the new agent portal, we thought it would be helpful to talk a little bit about the history of participation here at Holy Cross. This picture that you see is a picture of Matt Kavanaugh, class of 20, who founded the Holy Cross Fund in 1947, standing with Father John Brooks, President Emeritus of the college and longtime supporter of our strong participation rates. So I mentioned long-time success with alumni participation. Holy Cross has been over 50% for more than 30 years on average. And why is that? Well, the first reason is our outstanding class volunteers, you on the phone and other class chairs and correspondents and agents. We have a strong history of alumni participation. We've been over 50% for more years than we have not. And that when we have that strong alumni participation, it's much easier to point to that and have it be something that we really don't want to move away from. Holy Cross is an absolutely unbelievable institution worthy of your support. And philanthropy is really ingrained in Holy Cross's alumni with the slogan of Men and Women for Others culture. 65% of our alumni have given at least once in the last 5 years. When I talk about the history of alumni participation, it's also really helpful to see what the landscape looks like for other institutions. These two slides, this slide is from the Council for Aid to Education from 2014, and it shows the two components of alumni participation. The first is, on the left, the number of alumni of record versus the number of alumni donors, and you can see that that green line is going up, indicating the number of alumni who are solicitable each year, and yet the number of alumni donors remains flat. And the results of that you see on the right-hand slide, where you see participation rates that have been steadily in decline since about 1988. In 1988, you see that the national participation rate was 18%. That mirrors Holy Cross's high of recent history at 58%. So I think that, like other institutions, we have seen our participation rate sliding since that time, but not quite as dramatically as they are here on this slide, with the national participation rate being about 8%. 2 years ago, we spent a lot of time talking to our Board of Trustees and our class volunteers about the importance of participation at Holy Cross. And members of our board reaffirmed their commitment to maintaining 50% participation through the duration of the Become More campaign. This slide shows the years of participation rates since Become More began. And you'll see that while we have maintained 50% since then, our numbers have been declining ever so slightly since 2014, despite the fact that our donors have been increasing. And this really goes back to the slide that you saw earlier, in that there are more alumni of record, and so it takes more donors to maintain the same participation rate. So the bottom shows that our goal for this year is to exceed 17,000 donors. 17,023 donors will allow Holy Cross to maintain 50% participation. What are some of our challenges? We talked about our solicitable base and how it's increasing every year. We also know that we have an increase in live bunts, a declining retention, and it's getting harder and harder to maintain our live bunts from each year. At the same time, it's getting more challenging to acquire new and lapsed donors, as you all know from when you make your SciBunt outreach. We're seeing gifts of less than $250 declining and think that this is directly tied to the economy. And we also know that it's harder to track down alumni contact information. As people are getting rid of their landlines, as people are changing their email addresses, it's harder for us to have current information in our system. Nationally, there is an explosion of 501c3s competing for the same pool of dollars, and we are looking at new trends in giving. Other organizations are having great success with things like text to give. We certainly have had great success with our Giving Day, but there are certain trends in giving that are not helpful for institutions of higher education. And then finally, donors want to be more directive in their giving. They really want to know what their dollars support. And so it's up to us and up to our peers at other institutions to talk about exactly what their philanthropic dollars are supporting and how we need those dollars. So we have pretty lofty goals for 2017. Our goal is to raise $9.8 million from alumni, parents, and friends. As of this morning, we are just over $6.5 million, tracking almost $800,000 ahead of where we were this time last year. This is really good news. $9.8 million will set a record for Holy Cross Fund dollars raised in a single year, and being almost $800,000 is a really good position to be in as we head into the last 6 weeks of the fiscal year. This is really a result of several strong reunion classes that have just had outstanding efforts so far this year. But we're working really closely with our colleagues in advancement to make sure that we hit that $9.8 million goal. We talked about 50% being our goal. We started this morning at 30%. At this time last year, we were at 30.35. And again, even though we are tracking, as you see below, exactly even this morning of the number of donors we have this year, we are still tracking nearly a half a percentage point behind. And that, again, is because of our increasing solicitable base. Our graduating classes are much, much bigger. And so we need 350 gifts more each year in order to maintain the same participation rate. So even though we have 10,019 donors this year and we had 10,019 donors last year, we're still tracking nearly a half a participation point behind. Back to this, Holy Cross is really successful because of all of you and the work that you do every year. If you look at the 10-year participation average for Holy Cross, it's 52.8%. But the participation rate for alumni assigned to an agent is 57%. So we know that the outreach that you are doing and the class agents that you work with are doing is really helping Holy Cross maintain the 50% participation. And we also know that we have 2,100 class agents, and they give it a rate of 92%. So we are successful because of the work that you do every year. I'm now going to turn the screen over to Sam McGill. Sam is going to walk us through the new class agent portal, but I'm really excited about this portal and what it will offer you in June and for the years going forward. So again, there is a text box on the right-hand side of your screen. If you have any questions as we go through, please enter them there, and we'll answer them at the end. Sam?
Great. Thank you, Maggie. So as Maggie said, my name is Sam McGill. I'm the Director of Advancement Systems Technology here at the college. And for our class agent portal, to really give you guys everything you needed, we went to an outside vendor named Reher. They are an institution who specializes in higher ed, not-for-profit fundraising, and they have different modules that we use throughout the campus. And this is the latest one that we've been working on for about a year in collaboration with Reher to make sure that it would be as useful and as Holy Cross-centric as this portal could be to make sure that you guys have the best resources available for your fundraising efforts. The Reher class agent community is quite large. Here are just a few of our peer schools who are also using class agent with Reher. And to talk a little bit more about Reher itself in the class agent portal. In this portal, we have class agent user roles. All of you are class chairs, and there are also class agents. And in the portal, that means that you're going to have different views that you're going to see as you're going through the system. It can be accessed through the web via computer, or it's also available through apps in both the Google Play and Apple iStore. So what this allows you to do is it's going to allow you to view all of your prospects, all the contact information related to that, and your class ranks against every single class that we have within the system. We're going to be able to push out different scripts and resources to you so that you'll have those at your fingertips. And actually, if you're using the mobile devices, you'll be able to use them right away. We'll show you that as well in our demo. There are prompts for your next steps and the next actions you can take to try to really streamline your reach out process. You'll be able to record all progress and activities that you have with interactions with all of your different prospects and friends. And you'll also be able to receive push notifications from your Holy Cross Fund representative who will be communicating with you at that time. As a class chair, you have additional functionality. Within that, you're going to be able to manage all the volunteers within your class here. So you'll have a special view that lets you see all the other agents that fall within your specific class. You'll be able to see insight to your entire volunteer progress and activities through that. You'll be able to see how all of the agents are performing within your specific class. And you're also going to be able to communicate with those volunteers who are underneath you guys as well. So with that, we're going to begin our demo of the Class Agent Portal. When you guys have the email pushed out and to set up your account, you'll be going through the classagent.com volunteer login, and the screen looks like this. And from this point, we're going to go into the portal itself. Once you log in, you're actually going to see our ReHER dashboard. Up here, you'll always be able to see what campaign we are in with our final push, which is very exciting. We have our notifications. This would be the push notifications if our assigned staff were to change any resources for us. If they wanted to alert us to anything, this is where you'd see that portion. Resources itself will pull up any files that the Holy Cross Fund has pushed out that we believe would be helpful for you, such as introductions to our Class Agent Portal, gifts and actions, different campaign priorities. We also have right here will be your name. I am currently in a simulation mode, so I am pretending to be Maggie, who is on the line. And if you were in this, you'd always be able to contact your assigned staff person. If you click that, it will bring up an email for you, or you'll be able to log out of the system. Going down a little further, in the middle of the screen, you're going to see our dashboard, and this is going to really help you keep track of the health of your pool and how your class is performing overall. You'll notice that we have two different pie graphs. We have our completed and we have our donations. So the difference between that is donations is that we have money that came into the college, and that number is your prospect pool who's made donations. But we don't consider it complete at that point in time. It becomes completed once you've sent a thank you note. So you really kind of get that holistic kind of view to this entire process, because it's more than just a gift. It's really making sure that we thank everybody for their support of the college and helping everybody out like that. You'll notice right below our dashboard, we do have a nice purple bar. ReHER is going to actually look through everybody, and it's using a predictive modeling score. It's going to tell you who you should really focus on next within your pool. That's determined by like interests, like majors, or it's determined by their likelihood to give through an algorithm that ReHER delivers on the back end. If we look down a little bit further, we're going to have the My Prospects. This will be every single prospect or classmate who is assigned to yourself. You'll notice as we go through it that we have their names, their majors as talking points. Last contact date is the last time you contacted them through this system. And then next action is going to prompt you for what the next step is in the solicitation process. So if we look at Anne Marie Kennedy first, we're going to click on Contact. And we're going to be popped up to her overview. We're going to see what her job is at the top of the screen, in addition to her salutation and some information down here that's going to really help us make that contact in a better way. If we want to talk about our majors together, anything like that, if she's a fiscal year donor, her most recent participation year, all that kind of good stuff. And you'll notice that we have our three icons at the top of the screen. These are three different ways in which you can contact your classmates. The telephone icon is for making a phone call. You'll see that we have their mobile phone or their primary phone. And down below populates a phone script that we deliver. And this is just kind of guidelines to kind of help any conversations you might want to have. You don't have to stick exactly to this, but this is to really help so you don't need to think too much if you don't want to. One great thing is that if you are on a mobile app, you can just click the number and it will dial for you, and you can call Anne Marie right there. The same goes for our next button, which is our text app. So if the person had a mobile phone, Anne-Marie does not in our system, but if we had her cell phone number, we could actually just click this text button if we had the app downloaded, and it would actually populate this text script right here into our Messenger app that we have downloaded, and it would send it off to Anne-Marie, and it would look like it comes from us. The last option is email. So for this, we have our email template. You're able to either say you can send it from your own personal Gmail account, your personal Yahoo account, or whatever your default email client is. These are the two that are most utilized within Reher, which is why they have separate buttons of their own, but all default email clients are supported for this. If I was to click any of these buttons, it would pop up the email as though it's coming from myself with Anne's email address, the subject line of "We need your help," and the letter script down below. You're able to edit the letter or email script when you're in your email client itself. And one thing is that any changes that you make in that email, it will send to them, but we're not able to make your changes appear in here. This is actually the script for all class agents in your class. Now let's say that we had a very particularly good phone call with Anne-Marie, and we want to report our result. It's going to kind of prompt us through the entire process. It's going to say, how did it go? So if we talk to her and we know that she'll donate, we can say, we'll donate. How much? We can say $100 if that's what she said. And if they said that she's going to pay online, we would click online. If she wants us to send something, you can say click send pledge card, or if there's something else that we need to know, type it into the notes section so that the Holy Cross Fund staff know how to proceed afterwards. Additionally, if there's anything that comes up in your conversation that you think would be important for the Holy Cross Fund staff to know, or the college in general, you can type it in there. So if, say, Anne-Marie got married, or if Anne-Marie had a child, or there was an update to her employment, or you found a new phone number or email address for her, you can put that in the notes section. One thing to note is that Reher is going to remember your notes and display them as we go through. So if there's anything that's very sensitive, something that is possibly like an illness that maybe you don't want everybody to know, or if another class chair would see this, that you wouldn't want that. You would not want to put it in that note. You'd want to contact your Holy Cross Fund representative directly through your name email. Let's say that you spoke to Anne-Marie and she was like, you know what, I'm not in a good place right now. Can you call me back in a few weeks? You can select need to recontact. When you say when should you recontact, we do have the options of 1 week, 2 weeks, or you can select a date, and you can select whatever date she said would be appropriate. So if she said call me back tomorrow, or if she said call me back at the end of the month, you'd be able to do that and put a note in. You know. And we would click submit. And we'll see that our contact was successfully saved by the green box in the upper left-hand corner. And then we would click done. As we do that, you'll notice that our next prospect that we should focus on is now Dan, and Anne-Marie has moved down in the list. The reason for that is that we sort your prospects by the next action by default. So we'll see everybody that you haven't contacted yet this campaign or fiscal year up at the top. We then have send a thank you donation pending, because this person, if we click into that, we can see that we have the latest activity for Megan, and we spoke with her on May 4th, and she said that she would donate. And you can see that we have our notes down here, so we'll be able to have that as well. We have send thank you donation received. Now, if we send Christine Haverty a thank you note by clicking on this, we have the options of thanking by email or other. If I do other, perhaps I phone called her. We can say that I did that. I would mark this as complete. It's going to ask you confirm that you really do want to mark Christine Haverty as a complete ask, and we click done. And you'll see that our completed has now 2 people in it, and that Christine moved to the bottom of our list. After the send thank yous, we do have our recontacts. Since they are next week and 2 days from now, you can see exactly when we're expected to do that, and then we can see our completes at the very bottom. You can also tell on the left-hand side, there are icons. If there's a little yellow recycling type icon, that means that we need to recontact. Dollar signs mean they donate. Dollar signs with the checks mean they are complete. Any of these little arrows that you see in My Prospects you can use to sort, but it is a default sort to next action. Additionally, we have this Add Prospects button right here. If we were to click on this, this will allow you to add additional classmates to your pool. So if you're going through here and you see that Susan Balicki is not assigned and you want her in your class, you know her, you'd like to fundraise with her, you can click on her name. You can just double check to make sure that is the Susan that you remember with her major and her preferred class here. And if you want to add Susan to your pool, you would click Add Prospect. Additionally, if there's somebody that you are very good friends with and they are not assigned, you can search outside of your preferred class here, but you need to know their name exactly to be able to add them to your pool. And as always, if you can't find somebody, you can contact your Holy Cross Fund point of contact. One last thing before we get into the class chair portion of this is I want to talk about our dashboard a little bit more. So it's always going to default to our completed transactions and our donations, but we also have the different goals associated with it. So then if we click to the right, you're going to see your particular class goals for overall donors, the participation rate, and annual giving dollars that that particular class is aiming for. But we also have overall ranks for the entire final push itself, where you can see how the different classes are doing, and your class will be highlighted in purple. Now, right now I'm on overall dollars, but we also have overall donors, participation rate, and annual giving dollars, so that you can actually see how everything is going for that. And you can switch between all four of these as you would like. The next portion is what class chairs have specifically. So what we saw before is what everybody's going to have, class agents or yourselves. As a class chair, you're going to have this right-hand sidebar that says agents above it. You can always minimize it if you want to be able to just focus on your pool as a whole, and you can always click on the three little faces in a row to be able to expand it. But you can see that on the right-hand side, these are all of the class agents within the class of 1998, which I am in currently. And we can see that we have their name, and we have how many asks they have fully completed and how many donations they have. Additionally, we see these different alerts on them as well. So if I click into Erin, you're going to be able to see that her last login, she hasn't logged in yet, which is understandable because we were just introducing this today, her email address. The alerts is that she's never logged in. So if we were getting closer to the end of June and we have everybody up and running on the Class Agent portal and you haven't seen Erin log in yet, that might be time to have a discussion with her and talk about using the portal to get the asks in and done. You can see her report with how many she's completed and the donations she has, and you're also going to be able to see the different prospects that Erin has assigned to her. Much like your own prospect pool, if we click on a name, you're going to be able to see who Erin has assigned to her and more of the information associated with that. To go back to your agents, you scroll back up and you'd say back to agents. Also, if you don't want to scroll through your list, we do have this search bar so that you can start doing a partial search and it will start narrowing down the list for you and you can click on whoever you would like to view. So as you can see, Eric has 2 alerts, which no contacts are made and never logged in. Now you have control over these alerts to be able to manage your agent pools, and that is within this little gear on the upper left-hand side. If we click on that, we have the ability to manage our alerts, where you can set the intervals for them. So login activities, you can say, alert me if they haven't logged in 7 days, if they haven't logged in 14 days, 30 days. Other, you can specify that, or you can say, do not alert me. Same goes with contact activity and minimum prospects. And with that, that is the Class Agent Portal. Maggie and Christine, do we have any questions?
Are there any questions? I don't have any that are typed in.
Okay.
Great. Sam, there's one last slide.
Okay. Here we go.
So what are the next steps? The class agent kits will be mailing starting next week. We've been waiting to send our class agent kits until we were ready to launch this portal. We had our volunteer webinars today, and we will be doing our final push webinars in May. So within the next week, you will receive an email asking you to activate your class agent portal account. And once you receive that email, you have 72 hours to go in and activate your account, and you can start using this. We had one of our colleagues from REHER here on campus for the Volunteer Summit. He suggested that everyone spend a few minutes every day or every couple of days just getting yourself familiar with this. We think it's pretty intuitive and simple to use, but get in there, play around. You can't break anything. And it will, and you can get used to seeing what this is going to look like. We have worked really closely. Sam's team has worked really closely with REHER, so this is going to update every hour. So you'll be able to see hour by hour who on your list has come in, and we know how important that is in the last couple of days of our fiscal year. And just a reminder, our fiscal year closing date is Friday, June 30th at midnight. So please, if you do have any questions, don't hesitate to get in touch with me or your Holy Cross Funds liaison, and we really look forward to hearing what you think of our new tool. Again, thank you very much, and really appreciate you spending your lunch hour with us.